6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, about to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
I was just watching those videos of they've been going around Twitter, around all of like based Twitter, the anti-ayahuasca ritual videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the ones where they're like, girl that was going to be Fortune 500 company woman takes ayahuasca once and finds out AI sucks.
Yeah.
Her career is ruined.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, okay. I don't know. I get it. There's people that are still fighting the weed thing right now. So the ayahuasca stuff is this kind of tech bro thing, right? Where people are going out on these retreats to have things unlocked in their head, and then now I'm gonna make the best like Steve Jobs style tech. Now I'm gonna make this innovative stuff that puts America ahead of everybody and all. Like there are people that do this kind of almost frontier type exploration for the material world with ayahuasca, and then sometimes you find out that actually the thing you're doing is really gay, and that's considered a bad trip.
Yeah. Well, it's like, usually it's like a crypto app or something, or some like AI facial recognition thing. And I think, it's not going to move the needle on your spiritual life whatsoever. Most guys that are into that thing are doing it. Some of them are doing it for the love of the game, like Steve Jobs was, and but I mean, most people are doing it because they want like a $30 million exit, and that's fine, But ayahuasca is going to make you not care about making $30 million, and unless you're a complete psychopath, which Steve Jobs was. And
there was a price to pay.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of those. There's a big, like the All In Pod and those. There's a big push for making those guys like, or like even like mold bug stuff. Just making these guys are the arbiters of truth and what's real and what's good and stuff. And I mean, I think they got some good ideas and stuff. But it's clearly they clearly have their own little biases and stuff, and it's just kind of it gets old after a while. No one cares about it, their whole scene as much as them, I don't think.
What if you were let's say you're 24 years old, you're fresh out of whatever school you're going to, and then you're like, hey, before we get on the career path, or before we get this app developed, we got our ideas, you're in your little Silicon Valley house together, you and your 4 friends are like, let's go to South America, let's go do like a real DMT thing, like it's only going to help us, right? What if DMT warned you? Like, let's say you saw something, it wasn't exactly what you saw, but it was warning you about like getting Me Too'd in the future. At your tech job.
DMT Too'd.
Yeah. And you were sitting there and you're like, you're brushing up against her against the elevator, you both make eye contact, and then 5 years later, after you sell the app off for this much money, she comes out with a tell-all book and you're a chapter in it, and you're like, I don't want to do this job anymore. And everyone's like, his career, DMT ruined his career. And
what if you just watch, you got a DMT binge watching Disclosure, be like, I don't feel so good anymore.
Just putting on techno thrillers with off some ayahuasca. That would be cool.
I think what happens is, it's a lot of times if you're like, if you're like 28 and you've never really done real drugs before, like you didn't have that dumbass high school, college phase of just, and then you're like, I'm going to go do ayahuasca in the jungle. It's like, that's the one shot that everyone talks about. That's like the one, you and I could go down there and do it. Like, it might be like a rough time, but we'll be like,
I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even know if I can.
We'll come out of that and we'll be like, I still want to, be with my wife and family and stuff and all that, and it's like,
Yeah.
but those guys, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna upend my whole. That's rookie shit. Like, I'm gonna upend my whole fucking life because I tripped once.
I mean, it's girl stuff. Let's call it
rookie
real
shit.
stuff. It's what girls do. I mean, like, you see guys do it, and you're just like, man, I don't think you were fit to lead. Let's be real, dude.
Fair.
Like, because like, look, we know a girl who like did acid once at like Outside Lands Festival or something like pretty not that crazy. Shaved her whole fucking hair off and everything, full Britney Spears meltdown, and like had to be like committed and stuff. And it's just like, and this was a chick that never messed around with that stuff, like wasn't even smoking weed in high school. And it's like, damn, dude, you do acid for like, the Arctic monkeys to come out, and then all of a sudden you're just buzzing your long blonde locks off. It's not. Yeah, it's not. They're not for women, but I also don't think they're for a lot of nerds. Like a lot of nerds, you have to leave. You have to be willing to be shown something that you don't want to see, because there are so many of these nerd guys that have so many expected outcomes, these analytic minded people.
Exactly.
They're like, there's a range of outcomes but it's like, I'm sorry, you're technically doing interdimensional travel when this happens. So you don't have a spreadsheet for that.
Part of the people that like it because of its unpredictability, and even the pain and the danger sometimes, and the scary aspect of it, and so if you're trying to do everything by the books, and it's just not going to work out.
No, it's not going to work. But also, like I said, you can't. Some people can't allow themselves to look at something and say, "Man, this is what I'm doing is bullshit." Because a lot of times you're on that quest because you kind of know that what you're doing is bullshit, even if it's like going to be very lucrative, or it's going to be very fun, or it's going to lead you to a lot of great things materially in the world. But like. In the back of your mind, which any bad trip I've ever had is because I had something in the back of my mind that I was suppressing, and it kind of just brought it out. And not everybody wants that. Like I think it's totally fine to not want that, but that's kind of what it does.
And why man, spend half a year microdosing and building up.
I know.
It's just like basic shit. Just do like just get it flowing, and do a little shallow end kind of shit. Just go on the shallow end.
Yeah. And also there's the people who were sharing these videos, the beware psychedelics, beware. That was actually, it got debunked, that video that everybody was going around where everybody was like in the fetal position, like freaking out and stuff, and like sobbing and crying, never the same since. They were doing that weird toad venom thing.
Oh, the combo. Yeah, man, I had a friend that was adamant that we were all like kind of in, one of like your drug friends, right? It was, it was during that time where you're like, oh yeah, I do some mushrooms, have them and all that shit. And he was like, dude, you got to try the combo. You got to try the frog, man. He kept calling it the frog. And, which is different than, well, actually, I don't know what they're talking, because there is the toad excretion from the Sonoran Desert, where that has 5-MeO DMT, which does make you trip. But then there's also the one where it's like not psychedelic at all, but you apply it to a cut on your forearm, and it just makes you like puke and shit.
I think that's like what they were doing.
Yeah, and this guy's kept trying to get the latter, and he's like, "Dude, it's so healing." And I was just like, first of all, I like innately didn't trust it. We were friends, but I didn't trust him, and I was just like, "I'm not doing this with you, man." I'm like, "I'm not gonna do it." And man, that guy I got a lot of stories about that guy. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, why not just do Neosporin in an edible? We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's a chill evening, you know, if you can handle that. I know some people can like handle DMT, but not
Neosporin?
edibles. Yeah, Neosporin for your cuts.
Oh yeah. I was like, you're like ingesting it, like
Oh, you're not? Yeah.
suppository.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, loser. Yeah.
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 Fuck.
Preparation H too, dude. All
Yeah.
the cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean just cut, you know, if you want to cut to release, I guess. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not super into bloodletting, but that some people think that's based.
Yeah.
But you know, just do that and then you just take an edible and like and that's the other thing is like, dude, you're just a lot of these people are just nerds and you gotta like shed part of your nerddom if you're gonna go down that.
Yeah.
If you want to get away from that, like if you're obviously trying to add something else to your nerd repertoire that makes you different from nerds,
Yeah.
but you have to like truly. I mean, there is an ego
Yeah.
death. There's an ego death
If
quality
you
to it.
do, I mean, at whatever point in your life, if you get heavy into psychedelics, you will abandon your path, for better or for
Yeah.
worse. And I mean, it happened to me. It happened, and I'm not sad about it. I'm not, like weird or, I think it was kind of necessary in my journey. But I'm saying, if you do it in college, just do it in college. Just do it when you're young. Because if you do it when you're 28, 30, and you're like a founder, you're gonna have a bad time. South Park, it's gonna.
Yeah. I don't
And-
even think there's any drugs I could do right now, like actual drug. Like
Mhm.
all of that stuff is. I remember
Yeah.
seeing that. I remember seeing the picture that was going around of the girl with her Hegel book with Coke all over it that looked like
yeah.
baby powder and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
It's phrenology of spirit. Hegel's
Yeah,
or whatever
come
it
on.
is.
First off, dude,
Yeah.
worst use of cocaine ever, by the way. Like truly the
Dialectics.
worst. Can you imagine? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you just got a fucking 8-ball, dude. Gonna bust this down, read some Hegel.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's all bad.
I just know you're not gonna make
Yeah.
Hegel like cool and fun. Like if you're reading philosophy.
It's like lipstick on a pig, dude. It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no way to dress that up. Obviously it worked. Bait. I saw it. Everybody saw it. It worked.
Yeah.
Engagement happened. That's what was meant by it. But I just
Have you ever tried to read one of those books? I can't,
yes,
dude. It's
horrible.
so-
And it just looks like when do I get out of the index?
Yeah. Because Dostoevsky is like hard to read, and it is philosophical. But you're like, this kind of is tight. You got to go slow and and to absorb it. But you're like,
there's
this is
lots.
cool.
You're in the index permanently when
Yeah.
you're reading philosophy. You're just like, oh, and it's
Yeah.
just, and again, this type of person has always existed. If I don't see a pretty good application of it from the person telling me about it, I'm not gonna read it.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people that read that stuff, and it's just to forever prolong like college years.
Yeah.
And to just constantly. There's just, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar and people just like, well, actually it's not. And, it's like, you're 30.
Yeah.
Just there's a thing that needs to be done in life and you got to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and look, we're podcasters, in our 30s doing our thing, but like, I got a job too. I don't like it. I don't want one, but I have one and I don't just sit around every day. First off, the time, like I read constantly, it would take me a year to get through that book and it's not.
That's part of that. I think that's part of the thing is with all that old wordy stuff, there might be some value there, but a lot of times you commit to such a huge volume and you don't want to get to the end of it and be like, that was a gay and a waste of time. You're kind of like a sunk cost fallacy where you're like, I have to pretend that I got something meaningful out of this. And maybe some people did, but it's like, you're not going to read like 2,000 pages and be like, that was fucking lame. I wasted. I could have read so much other cooler shit. I could have read Crichton at that time. I could have read all this. And, I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Crichton's like, hey, would you like to hear my philosophy and be entertained?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, today I wanted to talk about. Before this, you minutes ago published. It's not part of your Red Pill series, but it is. It is just a piece on our Substack. There's been a couple in the last week. Shout out to the one from our boy Adam on the 2021 All-Star game and how that was used as a political pawn. That one I remember when it happened, but I got memory hold a little bit, so I'm glad we brought that one back.
I wasn't hip to that at all, really.
I knew there was a big thing with I knew it because it was a big
Like
sports lib, and
we'll
Atlanta.
give the quick version for anyone that hasn't. I mean, obviously read it on our Substack. So
Well,
and subscribe and pay.
Georgia had that election. There was a Brian Kemp, who I believe lost to Stacey Abrams. I don't know a lot about that, but there was kind of a he was kind of the more conservative guy and wanted to do the classic. You need an ID to vote. You need this and that. Again, go read the article rarecandy.substack.com. It lists out everything on there. But everybody's like, no, we cannot do that. That is that's all bad. And Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, steps in and says, well, you guys don't get the All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
Now, people, you don't watch sports. Why these people don't watch sports? Who gives a shit, right? The MLB All-Star game. It's a big deal when it comes to your town. A lot of businesses get a lot of money from it. It's not as big as like the Olympics, because you'll hear about the Olympics coming to people's town, and actually stuff gets built up too much and then fails right after it leaves and like fucks up everything. But like the All-Star game, it's like every bar around there gets hyped up. Like Indianapolis for the NFL scouting combine. I don't think it's going to be there anymore. And there's a lot of bars that are like, that was like my big time of the year, that in the Final
it's
Four.
Like Black Friday.
That in the Final Four for, if it's ever in Indianapolis and stuff. Those are the biggest.
Where is it? It's going to be in Detroit next year or something?
I can't remember where the combine is going to be now. But anyways, the All-Star game, it goes to different cities every year. It was supposed to be in Atlanta. They just straight up moved it. I can't remember. I think to Colorado. I think they moved it to Colorado, and it just got taken out as political pawn. They're just like, well, we don't want to do business here. With a state that does voter suppression right now. Voter suppression is a loaded term, because any person who just turns on the TV and goes, yeah, that's bad, voter suppression, I'm against that. So then you end up hating the state of Georgia, which is funny because the MLB didn't want to turn down the Atlanta Braves revenue sharing stream that was coming in. They wouldn't turn that down. That down. There's this performative aspect, but it's more than performative because it gets the libs fired up about stuff like that.
Yeah, if you call what you call,
it scares other states. It scares other states too.
Yeah. And if you're going to call requiring an ID to vote voter suppression, I'm going to call not requiring it vote fraud. Yeah, that's what that is. That's Scott Adams' big. I know I always bring up now because I like listen to a show every day, but he's like, you just have to assume it's fraud at this point because they're so adamant they don't want it, and it's not like they care, about, it's like it's 100% what that is. It's
easily.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then you
especially Georgia. There's like 4 states where it's really bad. You can tell it's like
100%
the main issue.
Yeah. You just wrote a piece. It's called Health and Politics, right? Simple enough. I've had a chance to skim it. It literally came out 15 minutes ago, so upon recording. But I have a feeling it highlights a lot of what we talk about on here, and it's interesting right now because again, there's no third party right now. Like there's no third party. Like Jill Stein's kind of like a meme at this point.
Yeah,
and people loved having a Bernie Sanders to kind of buck a trend, or I'm outside of the two-party system, but there is none this year. And you see the kind of people, the leftists who spend 3 out of 4 years saying Democrats commit genocide. They do all Democrats are evil. Oh, I hate Democrats. Oh, I hate them. And then usually about 6 months before the election, they would latch on to like a Bernie Sanders type, try to shake up the Democrat Party. But there is not that this year. So this year I've noticed these were people that I probably didn't agree with on a lot of stuff, but I was like, I noticed a tone of aggression from them towards the RFK types, towards the towards Trump and stuff, while being above it all.
Yeah.
While being above politics. While they're not going to put blue waves in their Twitter bio, Harris walls. They're not going to do that. However, but it's with health and politics, they pretty much punted health away. Essentially.
They did.
Healthcare to them is this umbrella term where it's like, I'm for health because I want healthcare, and anybody who is expanding healthcare, right? Not regardless of what healthcare is, but just quote unquote expanding healthcare. This is what the Harris administration wants. They want in-home healthcare. They want all of these things, and that's what they care about rather than the nuts and bolts of said healthcare.
Yeah. I think that I just saw part of whenever you write something, you're immediately like I wish I did it. I need a part 2 now because it's already, that's how I am, at least, where
Sure.
it's never finished and stuff. But my whole thing is, obviously, any major political party on any spectrum, right, left, is going to be corrupt. What makes this Democrat, liberal, progressive thing different is that all their constituents, all their voters, are straight up marks. They believe, not MARX, like they're
Yeah.
mark. They're a mark for it. They believe whatever's put in their front of their face. They eat it. They gobble it up uncritically. Anything, no matter what, even if it makes no sense, they throw that all out the window.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the biggest infraction perhaps later in the episode. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and I know people will say, "Oh, but the conservatives fall for stuff too." And my whole thing is like, it's just different. It's a little bit different. It's a different energy, and it's and again, there's never any. So again, the thing is that the liberals themselves, the voters, you can't talk to them. You can't have any kind of discussion with them. You have to put the kid gloves on. You have to dance around stuff if you want to keep the peace, or you lose a bunch of friends. Both have happened to me, where and yeah, you just have to kind of pretend you're someone you're not if you want to keep the peace. It's just, that was kind of like a little bit of an event session for me. And yeah, I don't see them getting back the health thing. I don't see them coming back from this. I know they might try and spin it in like 20 years, be like, "Oh, we were always that way."
Yeah.
But of course, now we have like archives of Blue Wave on Twitter. Like it's not going to be forgotten from the sands of time. So I don't know. It's just, there's something weird about it. It's uniquely, obviously, this is anyone who listens and reads us all the time, it's going to be nothing new to them, but it's just something I still think needed to be said. And RFK's speech when he got out of the race is really good. Not the Trump one. The Trump one was like all right, where it was him and Trump on stage. It was good, but it was more like rah. But the one where it's just him dropping out of the race, that one's really good, and I think everyone should read it, because it's again, you can call that guy crazy all you want, but it's like your party's autographing bombs to Ukraine and shit. It's like, it's like, what's
right,
like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you at any point are? And that's the other, like I'm over the whole, it'll just, like I've had family members be like, you just got to pinch your nose and vote for the I know it sucks, but you just got to do it. It's like, no, they're evil. They support evil stuff that I don't support.
There's not one thing that I like not one thing.
There's no. It's anti First Amendment, anti free speech.
Dude, Hillary pops out like once a week now and just goes, that First Amendment gets in our way for a lot of stuff.
What the fuck?
And it's like, okay, you can big brain away where actually conservatives, along with these big tech companies, actually are surveilling you. It's like, surveillance is everywhere. I'm sorry, you show me the anti-surveillance route. There's maybe Thomas Massey, maybe
also who was the surveillance president when Snowden dropped? It was Obama. So
Obama. Bush and Obama were just a decade of just straight. Where like that was what we know as neo-politics is what happened there. That was just straight up like new millennium techno-fascism that was happening there. Like, and that to be honest, man, I'm not saying it's too late for that. I am saying it's just like, I have no solution for the surveillance thing. Everybody can't go live in the woods. It's tough.
Yeah, and the funny thing about the censorship, the like anti-First Amendment, because their whole thing is like, it's like a safetyism thing. Like, we need, just quell medical misinformation. We need to we got to stop at the, to save the truth. We need to quell the First Amendment. Yeah. And because people say wrong things on the internet, and we need to shut that down. And what's funny is the funniest thing about this to me is, and I was just thinking about this today, they didn't even try and get some fake real ones first. Like their examples were wrong from the get-go, like ivermectin or COVID vaccine stuff. It wasn't even like sure, you could maybe, I don't agree with this, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. Maybe you could find a couple of examples of quote unquote free speech leading to bad things or whatever, like that. Yeah, but they didn't even go for that. They just went for the fake shit right away. Where it's like again, I support the free speech even if it leads to medical misinformation or whatever. But what they call medical misinformation is actually the truth. So it's kind of, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like
Yeah.
they didn't even try and spin it. They just went straight for the lies, straight off the top. It was crazy.
And I'm not even a big gun guy, but it's true that 2 protects 1. So when you go after both of them,
yeah,
it's kind of it basically those are the ones that everyone cares about, right? One way or another.
The problem is conservatives have a deep, innate kind of patriotic kind of a, like a founding fathers kind of vibe where it's like, tyranny needs to be put in check. And the other side, the progressive and liberals, they just have they either don't admit it or they have a very convoluted view of what the evil in this world is, and it's just it's almost like, they trust the deep state. They don't even, it's not even they disagree that the deep state exists. They literally trust it. They literally entrust the CIA and the FBI.
The deep state is Marvel, is the Avengers. That's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, in Black Panther, the good guy was the CIA agent. It's like, what kind of crazy? It's crazy, dude. It's like, it's like, so so it's really weird. I don't know how, like, this article, there's no good solution. I don't know how to like talk to these people. I don't know. And again,
they need to get knocked down a fucking peg, dude, is what needs to happen. They need to get knocked down another peg. And have
they can't. That's what Brett Weinstein's whole thing is like. They can't. He's like, because he's like never been a Trump guy. He's never been
right.
But he's like, they can't win this. He's like they have to be shut down. Yeah, they have to be shut down. And so I think like he's really adamant about that. And he kind of like soft endorses Trump or whatever. But it's like even he is like, shut this shit down. This shit's over. It's bad. And I agree.
And just the idea of like, anytime, I mean, just the way they view men too and stuff. Like you see the Vance and Walls debate where they're like they were doing literal they were doing physiognomy.
Yeah.
They were doing physiognomy wasn't that New York Times? I mean, it was a real or New
Hegel's
York
physiognomy of spirit. Dude. That's what I called it. Dude.
They were doing that, and it was just like, for one, anybody who could actually look at who had the better demeanor. I'm not even talking, even if you knew neither guy on mute, didn't understand what the red or blue tie meant, none of that. You just looked, who was like getting on the other guy. You could tell, right? You could see what the score of the game was a little bit. And I don't put a lot of stock in debates and stuff, but I just looked at that and I could tell like Walls was scared as hell. He was literally lying about China and stuff and just lying. And the whole thing is their whole thing was fact check. We're the fact check people. And he just lied insanely hard, like in front of everyone. Yeah. And so I personally, I don't know if it's going to salvage the people around me that I lost to like 2016 TDS, libtardation. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I need it to not. We need to knock it down to another peg or something. It's going to lead to more hysteria. They will respond with more hysteria. But before we get into it, we're going to get into, I think, what was just perhaps the most egregious thing that they do and that they believe, like truly more than like, I think more than anything. But before that, everybody listen to the Roxy episode. I checked the numbers. Disappointing. Listen to it, guys. Like it's really good. I know you want to hear us talk about what we're talking about right now and stuff, because that's always a big lie that fans say, not saying our fans, but just podcast fans in general. They're always like, oh man, I hate when like my favorite podcast is talking about like the current thing. I'm like, sorry, but when you look at the numbers, like that's almost every podcast goes up when you talk about the current thing. So somebody's lying there. Because the minute you stray from that, everyone's like, oh, I'll come back when they're talking about fucking, JD Vance or something. Yeah. So I like talking about that stuff too. I'm not saying that. I just mean, trust us on that. That was a fun episode. Check that out. I buy into like the show itself when I listen to a show, so I don't care what they're talking about. So
Brian Ferry's way cooler than anything political.
Brian Ferry rules. I mean, like that's what we do. We like he didn't really miss like ever. It was just like, dude, amazing. So, anyways, also leave us a review on Apple. We've been getting some haters lately. They've been happening.
On Apple?
There's just been haters in general. Algorithmically, I'd like to get our podcast suggested to people, and if you really just like us, just if you listen on Apple, give us a little 5-star guy, maybe write a little something. Spotify has a rating system too as well, wherever you listen. If none of this applies to you, no worries whatsoever. Now now what I want to get into is this hurricane stuff, because it is really crazy. Like, it is out of control, and obviously the hurricane is awful. Both of them, right? Because there's Milton and Helene.
That's the thing. Is like I was like, wait, there's a second one.
There's two.
I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
no,
Yeah.
it's brutal. I mean, the North Carolina stuff is insane. I mean, just awful. I mean, if anybody, obviously praying for anybody's family who lives out there, or just the people in general. And then Florida's got the big one coming too, which I think is, I don't know anything about hurricanes. I live on the West Coast. We're just waiting for the big earthquake, and fires and stuff. It's completely different terrain, so I am a little bit. I don't know anything about this stuff. Now, one thing you see right away that libtards always do whenever there's a natural disaster is they check their little map, their electoral college map, their little red blue map, and they look at the state and they go, they voted against their best interests. Every time they do that, they won't do that for Flint, Michigan. Right? They won't do that. They won't see that there's undrinkable water there. They don't look at that and go, they voted against their best interest, because it's some different dynamic happening in their government there. Or in California, we were having fires. We had a straight up drought for a year or so, and I didn't hear one person out here mention climate change when that happened.
Yeah,
because everyone in California that every lib in California believes wholeheartedly in climate change. So they're like, well, I believe in it, and we vote Democrat. So this drought is just, it's bad luck. We need some water. Maybe Oregon and Washington need to pipe some water down to us. We need to build infrastructure that brings water down to us. And so now they with this stuff, as they go, we've been warning people for decades now about climate change. Just warning. No solutions, just warning. Yeah. We've been warning them that climate change is happening, and they've been voting against that. They've been voting for big oil. They've been voting for all these big things. And for one, I mean, it's just like they're the ones that hate whenever a school shooting gets politicized. The minute someone says, hey, let's not ban guns because of this, they go, wow, immediately politics you think of. But then when cities get blown down, just absolutely turned into rubble, underwater, they immediately politicize it. And as though I mean, okay, is there suggestion that if North Carolina and Florida voted Democrat for the last 3 decades, they wouldn't have these catastrophes? Is that, I'm guessing, like, is that because that's what they are saying is the issue, is that these people
it's just pure retardation. It's just like the lowest level of political thought,
because they're not even environmentalists anymore. These people are not environmentalists anymore, because I grew up in the 90s in California. You grew up in the 90s in California. You'd go out with either your church or your little science class or whatever, and it would be Earth Day or something, and you'd get out on a field trip, and your teacher would be like, pick that trash up, pick that trash. Like, I don't see libtards picking up trash. I never see it.
Yeah,
I don't see it at all. Now, I was in your neck of the woods for your wedding and stuff. I did see boomers out there trimming roses in the rose garden, volunteering. That was nice to see. At least if you're going to believe in climate change, at least parlay that into something that is like productive for the community or something. They don't even do that. These people sit behind their computers. They sit in I'll say it, a pretty high carbon output place. I mean, I'm not even one of those people, but these people all throw away multiple takeout containers a week. They do all of these things that really aren't good for the environment by their own logic, but it is the ultimate thing behind the emergency glass. If they ever lose an argument, if they ever meet a conservative that actually knows what they're talking about, they immediately say, well, I guess the world's gonna fucking burn down because of you guys. The world will end because of your politics. And they love shit like this. They love it. And it's a month before the election, less than a month before the election, that this stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of it, because it's easy to say things, hard to do things. And I think a lot of legit environmentalists and activists and people, people in organic farming and stuff, they got lumped in with that progressive thing. And then it's kind of like stolen valor. They kind of took that on as like a political, we're that party and stuff but then all of a sudden they're all pro GMO and pro glyphosate and pro vaccine schedule. So it's all fake. It's just kind of resting on laurels that weren't even there to begin with. And the weather, the FEMA stuff, it's like first of all, like Maui happened, and nothing came of that. And that's that's insane. That's insane that we're sending billions and billions to Ukraine, and Maui can't get just fixed in 10 days or something, right?
Yeah.
Or just be supported. And so and that's Maui. That's not even like North Carolina or something. That's like some, you'd think that has like some emotional, oh, the islands, it's so beautiful. And obviously
Yeah.
North Carolina is sick too. I've never been there, but I'm sure I'd love it.
No, I know what you mean. They would look
There's
at
like
it
an emotional, and it's a blue state.
I think a church got knocked down.
Yeah.
They have that
like
kind of scoffing
and,
attitude towards those
and
Appalachian states. Yeah.
Yeah, and just this condescending attitude. If anyone brings up any conspiratorial angle, like, hey, this is all happening weird timing, weird money involved, weird. They're like, why are there, why they seem not motivated to actually help people? Why are volunteers doing all this shit? Like just random guys down there doing stuff and not the actual government, and I don't know. I think who knows what it's like, fog of war kind of thing. Who knows what's actually happening right now? But
yeah,
it does seem a little weird, right? A little weird. Everything that's going
good
on.
Thing. I know who's on. I know who's on it, dude. I know who's on it. Watch.
Is that FEMA has so many resources that are available to folks who desperately need them now, and resources that are about helping people get back on their feet and rebuild and have places to go. You are entitled to these resources. People are entitled to these resources, and it is critically important that people apply for the help that is there to support. That all of those resources were created for just these kinds of moments in an emergency situation, knowing that folks are entitled to have the relief that they so rightly need at this moment in time. So listen to your sheriff around the places that have been impacted by Helene. Listen to your local sheriff, who's going to tell you straight about what's available to you and how, for so many reasons and ways, there are no conditions attached.
Thanks, Kamala.
Yeah,
she is like straight up just like lost sometimes, like too, and it's not sad like Biden, because she's a striver that now got at least in a position to get the thing that she has been striving to get. But you just can tell it's like you're just inept. I mean, you're an inept person, and you're supporting. It's perfect for a party that relies on like a really nitpicky bureaucracy that does the heavy lifting for them. And she's the perfect voice for those people, because she checks all the boxes of what the voters want to see on TV. It's easy to defend her if you've bought into the politics of the last 15 years that have been kind of infected everyone's minds. But then also just the fact is, like, a disaster like this happens. Everyone got mad at Trump doing the paper towels thing. She's not even doing that.
Yeah.
she's on Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, and I wasn't even one of those people. It's like, what is she doing? She's doing a podcast while it's out. I'm like, well, I don't know. She's got an election in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
that's how this works. But she is also the vice president. Right now. So it's kind of like, well,
where's Biden, dude?
Dude, he might be in the water.
Yeah, he's bobbing out there, dude.
Dude, he's just like fishing or something. I have no idea what's happening out there. But no, she like the FEMA thing is crazy, because look, this is kind of like the Hawaii thing, where there were these things like, do not trust TikTok or anything you see about what's happening out there in those hurricanes. People are lying. There's people that are, paid shills by Russia that's their big thing about lying about what FEMA's doing, what they're not doing. But you'll hear about people's like truck tires being slashed that are like delivering goods out there. Like it always seems to be like big trucks that are hauling things in there, like that are getting slashed. You hear about what's the other stuff, like you hear about just like FEMA blocking off certain areas and not allowing aid in there. I don't know what's true and what's not, but I'll listen. Look, I thought we were supposed to listen to the victims. I thought that was what we learned from liberals. We were supposed to listen to victims of these things, and it seems like everybody has that shared sentiment. And Katrina, I thought everybody knew FEMA was bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I thought like this is not some like new thing that people are like, wow, now everyone thinks FEMA's
No,
bullshit.
it's we have this like goldfish memory when it comes to like the political stuff. Yeah, exactly. Kanye
Katrina was
West.
horse shit
Yeah.
too. Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff. It was a different thing. Republican president,
Yeah.
rappers coming out again. It was a different aesthetic to
Yeah.
what's happening now. But this is all chuds floating in water and who didn't vote for Neil deGrasse Tyson politics to happen.
Yeah.
So that part is insane to me. And also, I'm sorry, climate change is fake. Like it's fake. I don't understand it. The soft acceptance of climate change as hard science over the last 20 some odd years. Like, because at first I remember it was a divisive thing. Global warming. If you're old enough to remember the global warming debates when we were probably in like 8th grade or something, there were people who were all in on it. Like, yep, global warming. You have a truck. My neighbor has a truck and I hate him and you should go to jail for having a truck. And then you'd have people going, that's bullshit. Even like liberal people, they'd be like, I don't know if it's that serious. Like you'd hear people saying that. But it was all propagated by Al Gore. People kind of laughed at Al Gore, but you know, there was also people who deeply believed in what he was doing, the ice caps and all that stuff. Now it's weird. There's less and less actual environmentalists that I see out there, like actual people cleaning up neighborhoods and stuff, because you'll hear liberals talking about they want like a carbon-free environment, but then you'll see these big cities out there where there's just trash all over the street and like trash burning and all that. And it's like, this isn't really adding up. So the debate, and then you'll have people who just go, yeah, I don't think it's real. But we do have a lot of extreme weather that happens. And for them to just toss out the fact that perhaps that there may be some, you know, weather modification. I have a feeling YouTube's going to start censoring this stuff pretty quick. So let's say weather modification, because that is real. That's on like government websites that there's been weather modification attempts since 1830. Whether it was just to help farmers, you know, or whether it was to quell hurricanes and storms, which I'm sorry, if 100 years ago you were trying to find ways to like influence hurricanes, and then to suggest now after like the Silicon Valley tech bubble happening and all of this crazy tech stuff that we're able to do, all the stuff we're able to do from the seat of our home or in the comforts of our own home with a flick of a remote to order things to our house, to do all of these things, for someone to just suggest like, hey, you think some of this shit might be man-made or influenced? You know, like maybe these 180 mile an hour winds that we see right now, maybe they're not actually that strong naturally. And maybe these things are being heightened up 3 weeks before people are starting to vote. People say crazy reaction. It's as though you said you were taking horse paste to get over COVID. Like it's the same reaction they do.
What do we always say? People in our camp, we were all waiting for something, the next big thing. Why not this?
Remember when we said it didn't feel like an election year like 3 months ago, and now it's felt like the longest election year ever. And but what's weird to me is that, you know, there are people who I know a lot of people, and you might know more of these people than I do. I know a lot of people that believe in climate change. However, it's never their number one thing. However, if climate change is real, and if the models are correct, they're not, but if the models were correct, why would they care about anything else? Why would they care about LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, any of this stuff? Why would they care about that? Why would they care about WNBA racism? Why would they care about any of these things? If the world was supposed to be swimming underwater because of ice caps or fire and brimstone, all of these biblical things in their atheistic world, their atheistic apocalypse that they believe in, the most boring one that could ever happen. If they believed in that, they should drop everything they're doing to stop it. But what is their solution? It's vote. It's always vote. They don't for a while, people were saying, let's get rid of the plastic straws. One of the worst things, one of the worst implementations ever. Let's charge for bags at the grocery store. Let's do all of these things. Those were bad, but they were at least trying to like apply their new environmentalist terms. Again, terrible, but they were at least trying. Now it's literally just, you voted for the wrong person. Now your towns should get destroyed. By the weather, not God, the weather. Which, so for me, it's like that should be the only thing you ever care about. But these people are just ultra lazy. They are they will order food to their house that has to go in a car, be driven from a car to their house and do all of these things instead of like going out there walking. And you never see them apply any of this stuff. They just vote and then police and scold. That's all they do, which is really insane for something like the climate.
Yeah. And I think they know that they know the climate models are, and everyone knows that the models aren't real because the Al Gore predictions didn't come true. And Al Gore was given those predictions by the scientists, and they didn't tell him to walk it back when he came out with a movie about him. You know, there was the people that were like, there were a handful of people that were like, hey, it's probably not that bad, like scientists, and they were outcast and shunned from their careers, and they're called.
They wouldn't do that. They would let science be science, though. They would never tell scientists to stop to do that. They would never like raid their labs and shut them down, even have some of them killed. They would never do something like that, though.
No. And so it's if you cry wolf, you have to pay the consequences for when people don't believe you anymore. And again, they're throwing away there's so many other issues. Again, it's like the gravity of climate change has taken all the other, like a capturing a bunch of moons in its orbit. You know, now endocrine disruptors, that's a right-wing thing. You know, microplastics is a right-wing. It's funny how like plastic straws is lib thing, but microplastics is a right-wing thing, you know, where it's like we should, you know, where it's kind of like this weird, and like I don't want plastic, and that's one of the main things reasons we shouldn't have it, because it doesn't break down in the environment. But then there is an element of like personal sovereignty. Like I don't want that shit in my testicles, you know. That's another, but that's like a no. It's funny how these things are coded, you know. These things, like, you know, if you don't want plastic for health reasons, that's fascist or something. But you have to look at the greater good and all that stuff. But I don't know. I can see another, you know, I'm sure we lived through at least one political realignment. I'm sure it'll happen again in many ways, probably in ways we can't even predict. It's why I'm so, you know, like I just try and stick to the principles for myself, because, you know, whatever alliances you make now, you know, it's just, who knows what it's going to look like in 10, 15 years. I'm just trying to kick with the homies, you know, that I know are cool and are like stable throughout all this. And the second it gets all weird, you know, like we get accused of falling for psyops or being the psyop itself and all that stuff, I'm like, I'm out, you know, I'm cool off that.
Yeah.
I just, you know, we're just guys talking, you know, and that's exactly what someone who is psyoping everyone would say, you know, is that they're just got nuts.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And it's just like a weird thing. I don't know.
We get accused of like, we get accused of trying to create some artificial chill guy thing.
Yeah.
Like which is funny to be a person on the internet who thinks they've cracked this like Dan Brown Da Vinci Code about the Rare Candy podcast, is they sit there and they go, that's the thing. They're just normal. But it's normal in this way. And then it's like, take some advice from us, you fucking
and
loser. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, you're
also
the
like
one.
No one who ever claims that for us. None of them are from California, and they just don't get it, dude. That's the other thing. That's
the thing is I don't even think I'm that normal.
This is how people act when they're not fucking weirdos and they're cool. It's like,
it's like we're talking about like chemotherapy and like all that stuff. It's not what normal people talk about. Like we have a normal inflection to our voice, and it's whatever. But I just think the two modes of podcasts. The two modes of podcast is no one's listens to that bullshit or Peter Thiel funds it. Those are the two things. That's the binary. That's the two-party illusion that's happening in podcasts right now, and people shifted us more towards the latter. And you know what, I'll tell you right now, he ain't funding this, but I'm glad that, in a way, I'm glad we got pushed into that, because it used to just be no one listens to this bullshit. So you know, that's all I'm saying there. But anyways,
from the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that red candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do shit.
But the weather mod thing is interesting because I see in a more advanced society where I don't know what that looks like or what that means. I mean, spiritually advanced, where we don't have these, where more people are on the same page about shit, and we're not just completely divided and at each other's throats all the time, and we're actually trying to create a better world. I could easily see tech like that used for some kind of good, right? For quelling harsh weather instead of amping it up, or whatever. And so, but if it exists, and who knows,
yeah.
are we saying, we're not saying it is, or that this is that, or whatever, but it's in the hands of the most evil fucks alive, and they would murder millions of people with it to get votes or something like that. It's like,
imagine the guy from the ayahuasca retreat going like, dude, we need stronger hurricanes, dude.
Yeah.
Like we need the DE dubs to come out there and
I heard I remember I talked with this tech guy who was kind of having like a heart where I remember he was like, yeah, I was in the ad space, like ad revenue, like Google AdSense and Amazon,
advertising, a great noble field. Yeah.
And he's like, I remember him, and it was actually like hard because he was kind of like, he was like, okay, we could do an ad thing where we aggregate people's private data and we sell it to advertisers in an anonymized way, to where that people's anonymity is respected, blah blah blah, but they still get the ads. It'll be like ethical ads, and I'm like, that's actually not like a half bad idea. I'm sure that's like that's an inspired thought for sure, but also they don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's never going to be a thing.
And and I ask him, are you running that company to the ground? Like, are you running it? Because the minute you sell that shit off, you don't have any control over it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know there's all this legalese speak that people can, well, actually, if you include that clause, I'll rip that thing up, dude. That paper is that's not happening. When anybody comes up with that idea, I go, that's great. You need to be like the Howard Rourke of that, and like go down with the ship and make sure that that's your company forever before I even think about something like that, because I know they're just going to sell it off to whomever, whatever ghoulish company. And then that company is just going to use it to find out, to do targeted advertising based on the election debates you have in your house in front of Alexa. None of this stuff appeals to me. Now, it's the same thing with the direct energy weapon. I let go and let God with weather. I mean, obviously there's things you can do. In California, it drives me nuts. All I hear about with Texas is Texas doesn't have the power. They have independent power, and it goes out all the time. And you hear about it, and like, there are blackouts in Texas. Gavin Newsom, I can't remember if it was Newsom, some California official went on, I think it was Newsom, straight up said, like, we don't have blackouts in California. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? Mm-hmm. We have rolling blackouts. They're scheduled ones because they're scared of fires. Like and I guess maybe that's the some of the solution of it. But like, we have this old infrastructure with our power lines where they don't put like the plastic encasing on a lot of the wires out here in California, because like, well, it doesn't rain that much. But it's like, when it does though, if we even get like 2 inches of rain, like all these mountain people, which again, a lot of those people aren't the liberal voters. Those people aren't, those people go without power for like weeks and weeks. I know this, like I know this for a fact. And with these, but I want to get to the energy weapon stuff too, because that is an interesting discussion. However, we were shitting on philosophy earlier, but I do have a clip. It's a couple minutes long. I think everybody will be entertained by it. But this is my favorite philosopher, Michael Crichton, talking to Charlie Rose right after he wrote State of Fear. Got a lot of flack for pushing back against Al Gore. It's a fiction book, though. It's a fiction book, so I don't know why everyone's all bent out of shape. It's fiction. I don't understand why everyone's so bent out of shape about fiction. But he was talking to Charlie Rose about it. Charlie Rose definitely is a true believer, but he also does a really good job setting Michael Crichton up to explain himself, because he knows he will. So here's the clip.
Well, I'm sure you read every sentence of this new report by the UN that came out of Paris. Yes?
I haven't, actually, because I don't read the summary for policymakers. I read what the scientists say, not what the politicians say.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Every good scientist that I talk to says to me, 90% of the scientists agree on this.
I don't know what the percentage is, but I would...
I mean, it's the lone exception out there, and everybody says you ought to listen to them, and we do, and I've talked to them, but most of the scientists say we all agree on this. that it is catastrophic. That in fact, if the ice sheet melts, if the ice
Charlie,
sheet
that's
melts,
not true. They don't say that.
Scientists don't say that.
Not everybody.
No, I didn't say everybody. I said scientists say to me, the majority of us agree with this. We agree that if, in fact, nothing's done about carbon dioxide in the air, carbon in the air, that, in fact, you're going to have these incredible things that we can see the beginnings of now, in which the ice sheet melts and it affects the weather and everything else. Tell me what's wrong about this. Oh, I know. You bored by this or what?
Well, it's a lot of the people who talk about it, and I don't know who you're thinking of specifically, don't actually know very much. And I'm sympathetic to that, because for a long time I said, oh yes, global warming, it's a terrible problem, blah, blah, blah. And only when I went and looked at the figures, I thought, wait a minute, tell me again why this is a catastrophe. I see that it's something that's happening. I see that it's important. If you talk to Jesse Ausubel at Rockefeller University, he'll tell you we've been decarbonizing since the days of Abraham Lincoln and Queen Elizabeth, and we're going to continue to decarbonize. So whether or not this is going to happen fast enough for some people, it's a long-term 150-year trend. It's going to continue. You can't get agreement on almost anything, as far as I can tell. I mean, you can bring in 5 guys to talk about whether Antarctica, the core of Antarctica, is getting colder or not. Everybody agrees the peninsula, which is 2% of the mass, is getting warmer. And, they'll argue and argue and argue, and you'll come away after an hour saying, I don't know what the answer is, and that's the reality. Nobody really knows that. But what I said in my book, and I defy anybody to tell me I'm wrong, is I said nobody knows how fast it's going to get warmer, and nobody knows for sure what the various contributions of warming are. And I've predicted 0.8 of a degree, and nobody knows that I'm wrong.
And nothing has happened since you wrote that book to change your mind about your conclusions.
No.
It's what it is. And it's like, people will pick out one thing. What you know, the one thing he said that people will shut down over? Rockefeller.
Yeah.
He said that, right? A Rockefeller scientist. Okay, yeah, fair. But Al Gore quoted a study that I think it was by like 2013, there's going to be all sorts of like flooding on like ocean shores because of ice caps melting. It didn't happen. And then if you look that up and say, did Al Gore say this? There's kind of a Snopes, not exactly that it's actually false that he said it. He misquoted a study by a scientist who the scientist says that's not what I said. However, we enacted laws, certain taxes, certain things like that off of that science. And that's how we do everything right now.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, how the people that were like the scientists are like, pump your brakes. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
They were shut up. It's like COVID with, like actually the infection fatality rate is like 0.03. It's like, it's not that bad. And then those guys, John Ioannidis, the number one, I'm getting off track, but the number one epidemiologist in the world, he was like, guys, it's really not. He said in March, he's like, this is what it is. It's not like it's bad, but it's not that bad. It's like the flu. And he was like one of the most cited scientists in the world was shut down. It's like once the political and the mind virus takes over, there's no getting through to that. Yeah, and I hate that too. That everyone knows that's what Al Gore said. We all saw that movie, where we all heard, and it's just so and
the libtards didn't even believe it because they kept their beach property. They all still live there.
No one believes it. It's too big of a thing to believe. And again, it's like COVID. It's like the Sam Harris thing. It's like, well, if people were dying in the streets, I'd be right, wouldn't I? It's like, but they're not, and you're not. They're not, and you're not. you're wrong. And if people were dying in the streets, we would probably be responding differently, but we're not. Can you imagine if we saw homes flooding into, I went to Hawaii, North Shore a couple years ago with my brother and sister, at the same place we went when I was 4 years old, and I hadn't been back since. I went when I was 4, and then I hadn't been back for like 25 fucking years or whatever. And it's like the same. Yeah, if the island shrunk by like 25%, we'd all be like, oh, okay, this is some real serious shit. the fact that it didn't happen, and then it's always like, this is the argument. This is with our mutual friend that we got in kind of an argument about this over, who will forego unnamed, where they get the margin of error hundreds of years long, as long as they want, they can be right. Where, where it's like, oh, yes, you might be right that it was overestimated, but, just give it 150 years. It's like, well, why do you get that margin of error and we don't? What's like, what? It's like unfair. It's like unfair.
They pick
it's like a line. It's like Seahawks Cardinals, like -10 or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
handicap.
why do you get -10? Why do you get +10 on this? It's like such.
Well, you have the, because like you'll hear about it all the time. Like anytime you'll debate like some super like Reddity type like lib who knows all these little factoids about stuff, but they're just wrong about the thing you're arguing about. So you might say, oh, well, so-and-so said this, and like, actually that was so-and-so that said that, but I'll take the rest of your argument seriously. Like they get real condescending. It's like, I'm right though. Like like you're arguing a random, nuts and bolts thing that's not even really part of it. And, but I'm right. And again, like it's like Crichton's whole book, State of Fear, which we covered on Gaining Fiction episode, I think it's volume 22, about a year ago. Seriously, one of the most prescient books you'll ever read. Amazing novel, total fiction, of course. But he basically pokes at the fear model, which is how everything is done. Everything is done nowadays. You'll hear about, black trans woman murdered. They're murdered at high rates. Who's doing it? Shut up. That's like basically what they do. Like, shut up. And now you need to put, we need to now there's a protected class. Now hate speech can't be now we need to police speech because of it and all that stuff. COVID, it's this much IFR, and you're like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like something we should shut the country down for, which we should never do. But like that especially doesn't sound like shut up.
It's this ratchet. You create the chum and the fear, and then it ratchets forward, and then the reasonable people are like, wait, hang on, and then the freedoms are lost. And it's just a model that works, It's like the fear is such powerful, and our whole world is just run by neurotics, and hypochondriacs now, and I think that's kind of the scary thing about the model that they see worked, where like as we maybe like I don't know, like seatbelt laws or something, where it's like okay, like maybe it's good over the course of history to make cars safer and make it so you don't fly through the windshield when you crash. But also, like, god damn, don't you just want to live like in the 70s again, where people gave less fucks a little bit, just something, just maybe like just ratchet it back a little bit from whatever it is now.
That's like
just
Bill
whatever this
Burr
weird thing. Yeah.
That's like Bill Burr arguing the inverse of that. I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah.
My dad used to ash cigarettes out on me.
Yeah.
With my no seatbelt and stuff. Take the fucking shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like,
no, and
it's so weird.
And I was thinking, because we talk about this, about like having kids, and Anna Kay was talking about it too, and I kind of feel this, where it's like, I remember we grew up in the 90s. I remember my parents letting me walk to the drugstore with like money I saved to just buy candy bars. Yeah. It wasn't far, but it was down like this alley that wasn't like a sketchy alley, but it was a fucking alley. It's like so any adult could have like pinned me to a wall and thrown me in a van, like when I was 5 years old, running. And they're just like, yeah, just go to the park, go do whatever the fuck you want. And it's like, and I'm not even a safetyist, but I couldn't see myself letting my kids do that. It's just exactly what Anna said, where it's like, it ratchets forward, and all of a sudden we're all fucking losers, and our kids are just on iPads 24/7 a day, and it's just like,
well, not even
kind of sad. Like, I don't know what the solution is.
Somebody would, even if you did let your kid do that, there would be some weird lady that go, young man or lady, where are your parents? It would become a thing, and that we validate neuroses at an all-time high, not neuroses in terms of prices of things, or can I afford this, or what's my kid going to learn in school.
No, it's like, will my 6-month-old catch a virus that he was never going to die from? Yes or no? And should I give him a shot that does not prevent it? Yes or no?
Yes.
And should we mandate it for everyone to go to school in California? Yes. And it's like, it's just so, and there's a gender element to this. So just say, it's like, come on, dude. It's like,
what is
like, what? I don't know, man. It's just
yeah. No, I hear you. No, I hear you, and it's just like, yeah, we're in this, like, we validate neuroses. We have like perma children, you know, that just get older and more scared of everything, and you know, that's it's tough. It's tough because you're shown things to validate your fear, spike your dopamine, do all of these things at once. And it gives you this false sense of knowledge too, right? Because you're able to go on Reddit or any of these insulated communities and kind of like, well, everyone agrees with me except for this loser I talked to at the supermarket the other day or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, why is that guy so weird? Oh, well, put him in a camp. I don't give a shit. You know, like, hasn't he seen the news? Look at all these people dying because of his thoughts. You know, like that. Truly, these people aren't that far off. I've talked to some people that I really never talk politics with or anything.
Yeah.
And people that I know what their take is. It's different than mine, but their hysteria I always respected, you know, a little bit, or their lack thereof, like just kind of like being rational minded while disagreeing with me. And I was making a joke where I was like, man, I got to get this person off of listening to like Pod Save America or whatever. Like, cause they think like they think like, you know, democracy is going to, you know, die and we're not going to have freedom to do anything we want anymore. Like if Trump wins and stuff, like, and I was just saying that, like, and I kind of expected this person to go, yeah, that stuff does get out of hand. I was kind of like expecting that as a response. And the guy was just like, oh no, I mean, that is scary though. You have to admit. I'm like, what's scary? And they're like, oh, I mean, you just hear about like them banning these books in the South and like all of these things. And I'm like, dude, first off, what books? Second off, and then I get fired up. You know, that's my problem. Is like then I get fired up. Otherwise, because what I did say to that person, I was just like, I think we're going to be fine no matter what. Yeah. And they don't really know what to say to that. Now, you might talk to a hyper libtard woman, you know, and they might say, well, you're privileged, so of course you're going to be fine. You know, when in reality, I worry for us, but like in reality, I do. I worry for like our type of people because I don't think we're the target demographic for a lot of this stuff. And there always has to be an enemy for sure. But I that's kind of how I approach these conversations with people I actually respect too, not people. I don't care about people who I just encounter that have this logic on my day-to-day life. But I talk to people like that. And they ultimately, their final ace in the hole is climate change, though. Like it is just like, okay, let's just say this happens. Let's say this. Let's say
Roe, ironically,
it is the Trump card. Yeah. It is climate change. You go, well, okay, you might say that Roe versus Wade being overturned might not be the worst thing in the world. You might say all of these things, you might say that Trump being elected again is not going to end all of democracy, that we'll never have elections ever again. You might say this. However, at the end of the day, like you're voting for people who want the world to literally burn. Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I have something to say to that, but it's weird how much people kind of laughed at the whole Al Gore man bear pig thing. However, that turned into soft acceptance of just it being kind of true. You know, like it's that this is happening. And like Michael Crichton says, if all I did was tell you, I didn't package it in a documentary form and all that stuff. But if all I did is I told you that over a span of, you know, lots of years, I just said there's going to be an eighth of a degree of what did he say? Like an eighth of a degree or something? Yeah, something like that. Whatever. Something like that. If I just told you it's going to be an eighth of a degree warmer, you know, the atmosphere, like, would you panic? Yeah. And most people wouldn't. Eighth of a degree. You don't notice that in your house. You don't notice that anywhere. Yeah. And what you have to do is you have to show fucking seals dying. You have to show turtles with plastic in their nose. Turtles that, again, cannot learn how to dodge a fucking straw in the water. Saying, I don't know. I'm about personal accountability. Like if I don't know. That's all I'm saying. You know, there's some, like, I say this all the time, but you know, there's like a group of smart turtles that go, oh, that was that. Only 13% of the turtle population, they absorb 100% of the straws. Like I don't know what happened, but I'm not making inference. You know, there's some turtles that are like, we've learned the straw thing a long time ago. Yeah. Like how to,
survival of the fittest, dude.
Yeah. You know, I'm just saying, but you have to show these things, right? Just like when you want to, if anybody says they want to have like a border that just isn't like the Raiders run defense, you anybody that wants a border stronger than that, they show you the kids getting separated from their parents. They just show you a kid with like one of those little crinkly blankets and they're crying and stuff. And that works on women a lot. It does. Like that immediately right then and there, their fight or flight, their maternal instinct, everything that's like good about them gets, that's why it's so sinister, is everything that's good about them gets weaponized against us.
Well, that's
when
the
things
thing.
like
That's
that
the
happen.
thing with the liberal thing in general. That's kind of, I didn't say this in that article, but it's like that. It's not. I'm not willing to. There's this whole like Twitter thing of like, these people are evil. All liberals are evil, and I'm like, okay, like I'm not like, these are people in like my family and my, you know, and friends and stuff, and it's like they're annoying as fuck, and that you can't talk to them about anything real, but they're not like, you know, and some of them are, can be very, I think their natural whatever wanting to be a good person got hijacked, and they're just peak fear, peak dopamine, peak stress all the time. And I mean, I'm just, well, I'm not, you know, again, they test me and they annoy me a lot of times with all that stuff, but it's just, I do think they're victims of psyops, you know, and it's military grade, you know, and it's just really, it's fucked up, you know, and it's, they've lost that kind of interesting, it's not really funny or fun anymore, or, you know, it's just, now it's all just fear and being scared, and, you know, there's not the cool factor anymore. It's not cool. It's, you know, like we always have like, it's gonna make fun of me if you want. We always, like, whenever fall rolls around, you know, my wife, she always puts around like Gilmore Girls, and we'll watch that in the background when we're like cooking or whatever.
Never
right?
seen it. Yeah, never seen
and,
it.
you know, it's like old. It's funny because it's
I remember when it was on. Like it's like
actually funny. There's an interesting Rand part.
No,
like the girl's
there's
second.
There's like reactionary shit. It's like the OC. If you were to watch the OC now, you're like, wait, what? This is what was happening back then? Like,
It's very like
now.
It's very like 2003, like Dixie Chicks, like liberal kind of thing, you know. And it's very funny because that was like the cool thing back then. And all those people now are like not cool. They're just not cool. They're just, it's like literally not fun to be around.
We used to just nod our head and just go, "That's nice."
Yeah,
that's what we used to do, and never empower that. We used to never actually say like, "No, these are the voices of the world." We used to just go, "Yeah, sick that you're doing that. I'm glad that you found a way to like wear Daisy Dukes and for climate change or something. We're fine, you know."
Yeah. No, it's funny. There is a funny Rand part that I didn't catch the first, where it's like her second main boyfriend or whatever, because they're both into reading a lot. They're both Gain of Fiction heads, and Rory, the main character, is like, you got to read. I think it's Fountainhead, or
Fountainhead. Girls aren't reading Atlas. Girls aren't reading Atlas.
No, but she's like, you got to read it, and the guy is like, why? Ayn Rand's a total political nut job. Like, again, I would never read that. And she's like, no, she drops like some crazy monologues. Like, just check it. She can write a fucking monologue. Just check it out, like 4-page long. And so she forces him to read Ayn Rand. I didn't catch that the first time around. I thought that was funny,
dude.
But it's very funny where it's like, you can be this kind of like dismissive liberal, like, you know, like above it all kind of thing, and you could kind of be cool. And now that just doesn't exist anymore. You know,
no,
it's just
everybody's locked in.
Yeah,
buckle up the chin. They're locked in. They buckle up the chin strap because we didn't have social media back then to do it. These people, it's the best thing for a nosy dork like liberal person to just sit back, to have their surveillance hub, aka the internet, like they're a pit boss at a casino with all the cameras and everything, to see and comment on everything. You could get somebody fired if you want to. You can do all these things to actually feel like you're affecting something, changing things, and do that. It's porn to them. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And to be honest, like, a lot of people are hyper online, even people I agree with. I have to stop myself from it sometimes. Like, it is fun to get trapped in that vortex from time to time. There's good and evil, I think, in that stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily love just being trapped on like social media and like locked into the algorithm. That's why I do a fiction thing. I still find a way to turn that into something fun with people from the internet, of course. But like, that's why I do that, because it's just to take myself away from that. Because otherwise, I will, in idle time, I will just scroll, and I don't feel good when I do that. Even though there's like this weird thing that the scratch that's itched, though I don't feel satisfied. It's weird. It's an addiction. But the direct energy, it's a thing called direct energy weapons. These things that now. So Trump came out. I don't know if Trump said it, but a lot of like Trump people, talking heads and stuff, were saying like, they're fucking with these hurricanes, man. I don't know what's going on. These hurricanes are hitting, like, something's happening, and it's not just climate change. And for them to just run and say climate change right away shows you that, like, okay, there was something weird's happening. So then, of course, that gets turned into like the epic cool guy, like liberal kind of Gen X lib to go, oh, the Jewish weather machine. Is that who did the hurricane? The Jewish weather machine.
It's like,
first
I
off,
didn't say it.
You said
did.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying what the machine was, who made the machine, but you know,
not my words.
Kanye. It's the
And
Kanye
yeah,
thing.
Exactly.
It's the Kanye
and also
clip.
just the irony of, okay, climate change is real, but it's just a handful of evil people literally controlling the weather. That's like ironic, right? That's
climate change is real. It's going to destroy the world. The biggest offender, my neighbor with the 2 Silverados and a boat. That's
not
the offender.
Not the heart machine in the mountains of Colorado.
Yeah,
it's like, exactly.
Not the bank down the street. Like none of these things. None of these things. Not the takeout containers that I throw away all the time instead of just learning to cook my own food. Like none of these things. It's my neighbor. It's my neighbor with the fucking what's that called? The Gadsden flag with the don't tread on me. That guy's the problem, of course. But yeah, I'm like, dude. First off, Crichton, if you haven't read that book, State of Fear, that we were referencing here, he alludes hardcore to like weather tech being made in the book. There's like direct references to it. Again,
and being like literally being done, but it's that whole thing like, this is such a problem, we're going to make it an even bigger problem to get people to notice. It's it's literally
they're having trouble landing the
psychological message. Exactly. Like we're going to actually make it 20 times worse. It's actually genius and hilarious. Like I think that's because everyone's in that book is just focused on like the graphs and charts and the storyline, but it literally is like eco-terrorism. It's
funny because you have people coming in that say, I think we talked about this recently, but there's people that are like trying to get the climate change or global warming at the time. Again, after State of Fear, it changed to climate change. Just a couple years later, Crichton dies of cancer, and after absolutely epically owning Al Gore with Facts and Logic, the funniest thing about it is there's the focus group people and all that stuff. They're like, we're having such a hard time getting people to believe in this stuff. And we're looking at the data here and they're like, and we're honestly like, this data is just, there must be more data that we just don't have, but this stuff isn't really working. And like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm sure there's more, actual data out there. Yeah, absolutely. And then deep down, it's like, actually these environmentalist people, they're trying to like blow up the side of the fucking shore of the place. So it scares people into believing this stuff,
which is so misanthropic. It's like you want this, you want the bad thing to happen. You don't want the solution. You're not solution oriented. You're not
exactly.
Yeah, and
it would be like a vegan actually going out and like killing 300 cows in front of somebody, like violently.
Yeah, and
just doing like actually killing the cow, right? Yeah. Doing it themselves in front of everybody. See, like doing all that stuff, like taking out an entire farm's worth of livestock. Which maybe it did happen. I have no idea. But like, let's say somebody doing that. And it's like, at one point you're like, all right, it gets the eggs and omelet kind of like metaphor that they do with this. And so they need to, they know they're right, quote unquote, know they're right. It's people that just, they know they're right. They've been appeased. They've been told, they've been coaxed. They've been coddled. Coddled is the word. They've been told, no, you're doing the right thing. So they go, yeah, but I kind of need like something to happen. Right, like I kind of need something. It's like these weird, like vaccine people that spent all the 2010 saying vaccinate your fucking kids, and then all of a sudden COVID hits, right? And we know the origins of COVID, right? We know where that stuff came from. It's become like not common knowledge now, which really frustrates me sadly. But like to hear like Democrats go, oh, the Wuhan lab and all that stuff. It's like, okay, shut up. Don't you ever say that. But we know where this came from, but you had to have that virus leak to scare people into all this stuff, right? Because people were just living a little bit too freely. People were living, and it's like, well, okay, you put that with climate change, and you see unprecedented that we know of, right? The unprecedented miles per hour on winds of hurricanes and all this damage that's going to happen. And I believe that that's the damage that's going to happen. I'm not saying that that's not real, but it's we can't question it a little bit after what we've been through in the last. So like, especially in fuck the last 4 years, fuck the last 8 years. What about the last 2 months, dude? What have the last 2 months been? We've been threatened with World War III, pagers blowing up, with people.
Dude, I'm not sure if Biden's real, dude. Literally, we didn't even. The craziest conspiracy is the one that like is legit. Has the most unanswered question. You're like, what? Okay, that it actually looks legit. Like, why? What's going on there? You know, it's like
Why are the ear thing, dude?
Yeah.
The ear thing is so
dude.
weird.
I swear, again, it's so incredulous and unbelievable. Where it's like people are like, come on, but it's like, look at it. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
Someone
there's
took a
no good
shot at
answer
the
for that,
president.
dude.
Somebody took a shot at Trump. Like, it's like, dude, all these things happen, and it's like, I can't for one. Nobody. First off, like, nobody said Jewish. The Jewish thing came from the opposition, like, for sure. Because I'm like, dude, we don't know who made the machines, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the Jewish people that were going, oh, and I guess we made these. It's like, don't humble brag. We don't know who made that.
Yeah.
That could have been an Irish guy.
That's the other thing, dude. And again, I'm not like, there's people that are like really focused on the whole,
for sure,
that aspect.
For sure.
And I don't think we always kind of clown around about it. We're like, well, it's funny to joke. For me, it's always been funny to joke.
Oh, it cracks me.
But again, the fucking the tunnels with the mattress, like, what the fuck? That just went away, dude. That just went. It's like,
Rabbi Shmuley,
dude.
all these
what
things.
Is
dude.
going on?
The butt plug sex toy shop in Israel.
I
and he has
remember,
money
like,
clipped to his shirt.
When that happened with the Catholic Church, which I believe did happen with all the crazy, but like, you know, molestation and stuff. That was like Dateline nationwide news for like 20 years and shit. Like, put the mattress in the tunnels, dude. Like, what's you know? It's like, we're not allowed to talk about that. It's crazy.
None whatsoever, because but in good ways. I don't know if they made that or not. It's not that I don't care who did. Like, it's the fact that if these things exist and all of these like unprecedented weather things, whether, you know, cloud seeding can withhold rain or make rain come out faster and all that stuff, which cloud seeding is real. It's what we do. We do cloud seeding. That's not, you can't
lie, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, there was literally, it was invented by Wilhelm Reich in like 1900, was just doing it in fields and shit. He's like, I just did it right there, dude. It works.
And it's like, everyone's like, so you're saying this, it's like, I'm saying, let's look in, if you care about climate change.
Yeah.
Like, if climate change is a huge thing for you, which apparently it is for these people, if it's a huge thing, you'd have to think of it. It's the same thing. Wouldn't you worry about gain of function labs if you really cared about COVID that much?
No, and that's the other thing.
It's the same. They never look at, they literally get in this like Munchausen's by proxy situation where they're not exactly the people that get poisoned. I mean, they kind of are, but they're kind of the people watching us get poisoned and just being like, you know,
That's the other element of this. Is like, why is it always, why do we have to poison our brains with heavy metals to save the planet? Again, it's just like the vaccine thing with mercury and aluminum. Why do we have to spray aluminum in the air to stop climate change? Dude? It's so like, why was that out of all the fucking metals? That was the one that
spray DMT on the food to stop polio, dude.
Dude, exactly, dude. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. It's
been happening forever. It's been happening. The sad part is it's
like, even if you're wrong accidentally, I don't trust you and get away from me and leave my family alone. Dude, it's like, but I know it's not accidental, so it's like, it is.
They're terrible. I mean, it's just that's my thing, and I'm like, you know, there are like these things out there, and of course, like Google sucks nowadays because so you can't like, and they roll their eyes at that, right? Like when you tell them like, it's not on Google, that means it's like, dude, Google's been cucked. Like everyone knows Google's cucked.
Yeah, and health shit. Oh, it was over. They did that on purpose, 100% on purpose. Which
also, I noticed everyone ties in. There's been a big kind of, I've seen some viral posts that are kind of like jokes, but also real, where they're like, yeah, climate change isn't real. There's definitely just huge weapons that target only MAGA chuds and people with cyber trucks. And I was like, cyber trucks? Like, you realize there's the funniest thing about Tesla,
Cybertruck's the ayahuasca tech founder guy.
Exactly. I will say Tesla owners have the biggest cognitive dissonance with like the thing that they own. Like they literally, it's all libtards and Indians. That's all the people who own Teslas.
Dude,
like,
and it's the whole like
chuds hate electric cars.
Dude, I know. Yeah, and it's the whole like, love the car, hate the CEO, like that whole thing.
Bought it before I knew he sucked.
Yeah,
I've seen that bumper sticker. I've seen that bumper sticker in the wild, dude. It happens a lot. So I'm always just like, okay, that's just a completely like, that's like adding an element to a joke that makes it like too perfect of a joke. Like for the current thing doesn't work. Sorry, your joke failed. But I just laugh. Like it's like, dude. First off, anybody that tells you that there's zero chance that there's a direct energy weapon whatsoever. Like any chance. Like, I mean, I'm not even saying it only targets chuds, dude. I could see like Haiti shit, like weird hurricane in Haiti, you know what I mean? Like earthquake in Haiti. I could see all sorts of shit that could have been targeted for that. I'm not even saying that it only targets them. However, 3 weeks before an election, when there's already been an assassination attempt on the candidate, and then going after its target demographic with a hurricane, I'll say this: I believe that more than I believe in climate change.
Yeah,
I will. If you ask me, I'm not saying I'm 100% certain that's what happened, but if you're asking me, do you believe my climate models or what you just said? I believe what I just said more so.
Yeah, and well, one of them we know is fake and doesn't work. So we literally know. So the other one has
that's
only,
what I mean. Like
has only upside. Has only upside. It's like,
we're
and
supposed
again,
to
it just goes back to the people. It's the centrist, the moderate centrist kind of rational. Let's think about that. Let's talk about this. The Sam Harris, calm voice type people. They are just so allergic to understanding how the depths of evil in this world, and how crazy people will take it, you know, literally murdering babies and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Yeah, like creating storms. That's all within the realm of possibility. 100%.
Yeah. And like I said, to put a bow on this whole thing, I don't trust people's climate panic beyond. I don't even trust anyone's actual climate panic now, because we wouldn't be putting vitiligo sliders in video games if we cared about climate change. Like, to make sure I need to make sure my character can have vitiligo. Before I play this new Ubisoft game. It's not. None of this stuff checks out if you zoom out enough. But if you get caught in current thing mode, dopamine mode, you start arguing points that, like, you know, you're right about, but you have fun with the argument. And these people aren't to be argued with; they're to be ignored. And you're supposed to operate. I know it's tough to do because there's a lot of people get tied up in their careers with these people and stuff. But again, maybe ayahuasca, back to tie it all the way back. Maybe if you took that ayahuasca experience, you might find out that you're running your head into a brick wall trying to please these people. And that could be scary, right? To be shown that psychedelically, right? Through maybe another dimension. And maybe that's why it's not for everybody, because people don't want to know. People don't want to know that maybe what they're doing is not fun, you know, or not good. You're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah. I struggle with that a lot, with just how I just don't. Again, like I've always known, and I think you too, that we're always just a little different and stuff.
Sure.
But it's really, when it just comes, you know, it's like, obviously this podcast is, you know, that this is a whole fun thing and we got a cool circle here. But really, I don't like being the black sheep all the fucking time, and I know I will be forever. You know, and
forever.
It's like I don't really enjoy.
If you're honest.
Yes. Some people really enjoy. They really like thrive and enjoy that kind of thing. I've always been uncomfortable with it, and I don't like being the weird one. I don't hate it enough to pretend to fit in, you know, to where I'm like, I'll lie about who I am and I'll fake it for the crowd or whatever. For sure, not that. But I don't. I'm like, it's not like a lot of fun for me. I don't know. It's like, and I'm at peace with it. I'm cool and everything, but it's like, it's not something that I'm stoked on. I don't know. That's just kind of one of my rambling thoughts about that. I don't know.
I agree. No, I agree. Hurricane, but you can call it Slurricane.
Yeah.
Strong enough to start an engine main. Yeah. No, obviously, if you got people, you know, I'd love that. No, call her
harp ass Slurricane.
Just harp, like listening to the click at the harp labs while I'm making the next new Hurricane. But if you guys like have any boots on the ground information, we do have a hotline. I'd love to, you know, follow this 510-256-9850 510-256-9850. Also call that. I meant to say this earlier. Call it. I want to know some of your spookiest stories, man. Spookiest stories of your life. We're doing another Coast to Coast episode with Scott. Those are cult classics among the fan base. Easily the most popular stuff on our premium feed, and we're going to be running with that again. So if you got, it doesn't even have to be like alien, anything like that. Anything you thought was like alien. I want to know some scary stuff, man. Like a house you used to go to that was scary as hell. You know, it's gonna be Halloween themed. So I want to hear the scary Halloween stuff, high strangeness, all of that. Again, 510-256-9850 or email rarecandyindustries@gmail.com. Yeah, just we're going to be doing that towards the end of the month, so I would definitely want some ammo for that. And like I said, if you have anything about the hurricane, really anything, go ahead and do that. There was a voicemail about Roxy music that I forgot to play today, from our boy Dennis in Australia. That will get played again. I will not forget about that the second time. But that was a lot of fun. But yeah, Gain of Fiction in just a couple days. Brad Kelly of Art of Darkness, him and I did a pretty. I'm still reeling from it because it's one of the best ones, I think, because we really engaged with work of art, like a really weird esoteric work of art that has a lot of interpretation, some of it parapolitical, some of it self-reflective. It's called By Night in Chile by Roberto Bolaño, and he was like a guy, it's really a book about like how much does an individual actor play in like a psyop, basically, in a sense, and it's centered around this priest. And Bolaño is a leftist, a Marxist, Trotskyist, whatever, like the one that a lot of commies hate, I think, is Trotskyist. I think that was him. But he writes about this priest who was a part of Opus Dei, the people who wanted to, kind of like the reactionary Catholic people that didn't like progressives and stuff. And he writes about the priest basically helping overthrow Marxism for fascism in Chile. But he's like, the whole time he's just like, I just buried my head in my books, but meanwhile he's like teaching these like military people how to like overthrow. So he's dying. It's his last, presumably his last night on Earth, and he's remembering it, and it's very psychedelic. There's falconry, lots of falconry happening in it. No, I'm telling you, it was all happening at the same time. It's crazy. And but yeah, really awesome talk with Brad. That's going to be out. We're going to double publish that on Art of Darkness. So that for their patrons and our premium feed, you guys will all have access to it. So if you're listening to this, but you're only an Art of Darkness patron, make sure you subscribe to us both. But you will have access to that for that. And you guys are doing a Rudolf Steiner episode. I'm not sure I'll be able to make the whole thing, but you and Matt Frester are going to be doing.
Pop in and Horace for a little bit, 15 minutes. And then we'll get that out by this weekend. For sure.
Rudolph Jill Steiner. I'll be in there. And I'll be in there for a little bit, but that's going to be on PsyOps Book Club. And like I said, hit the voicemail hotline 510-256-9850. And Gain of Fiction reading list as after Roberto Bolaño doing a really cool crossover for Salem's Lot by Stephen King. But I also have been reading Pet Sematary and The Shining on audio, so I'm like full on King mode right now. Just he doesn't understand. He would hate me, but obviously, but too bad. I'm reading your books, asshole, and I love you. His libtardation makes it scarier. It's so weird.
Something going on there.
No, it's like because it comes out in his characters. Like it's kind of this like, what are you doing? Working on my 39 Packard. I think that's a 40. No, it's not. It's like these kind of like tough guy like kind of things, and like you can tell he's like, I know what a 40 Packard looks like. And like it's just this whole thing, and then he'll write some really unhinged shit. Like Pet Sematary is one of the most depressed. If you have small children, do not read that book. It is one of the oh my gosh, dude. But it's also a masterpiece. So we're gonna that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be with Low Res, and then our boy Patrick from the TPN sphere. That's gonna be a lot of fun. But there's a lot going on in the RC world. Last week, sorry, was Alpha Beta Index. Sorry, but not sorry. We already got a coach fired.
Exactly.
Right.
No coach that we call Alpha will ever get fired that year. Sorry. It's like our track record is impeccable. We sniffed that out quick. The Robert Saleh was getting fired this year. And your Rogers stakes, dude. It's like he's like literally like
I hate it because I want to love the guy. Like I do.
You too,
I would love for him to be a guest on this show.
He's a mysterious figure, dude. He's not just like a good guy.
Football ended for him like 3 years ago, and
he's like,
that's the problem.
And it's funny. He's scared. Like talk about the Hat Man. He is like the Jets Hat Man. He's like in the corner, just like.
What if he's not? What if he is just an entity that we all can see?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just no, for real. That's I think that might be true.
He's the Jets hat man, dude. I'm telling you,
the Jets hat man. That's dude. That is also, guys. If you listen to War Mode, we need Billy McCusker on here. He's into like remote viewing and wants a sports route for remote viewing.
Yeah.
We're the only people that do that.
I know.
Like literally, there's no other.
Yeah.
So
come on.
If you are on his Patreon comments or the War Mode, hit them up. Just tell them about us. I've messaged him, but I think if a few people say it, we could have a fun time with Bill. Because no, I mean the dude, like it's like when a girl. It's like, you know, like if you're like friend zoned or something, and a girl's just like, I just wish like there was a guy that was,
like they really love parlays and fantasy football. I know exactly. It's come on, dude.
I just, you know, that's how it feels right now. Not in a gay way though, of course, but like just that help holler at them for us. You know, privately message whatever on their Patreon. I think something like that because that's got to happen. They're teasing too much with that. On that note, guys, everybody have a safe week. We'll catch you guys next time.